How our gold reserves have been manipulated. The Coinage Act of 1792 established a dollar consisting of 371.25 grains of pure silver, but was later replaced with a gold dollar consisting of 25.8 grains of gold. In 1873, the Coinage Act was passed, prohibiting the use of silver as a form of currency, because the quantity being discovered was driving the value down. In 1875, after temporarily suspending gold convertibility during the Civil War greenback period, the U.S. was put more firmly on the gold standard by the Gold Standard Act of 1900. From 1900 to 1933, gold was coined by the U.S. Mint, and our paper currency was tied into the amount of gold held in the U.S. Treasury reserves. In July 1927, the directors of the Bank of England, the New York Federal Reserve Bank, and the German Reichsbank met to plan a way to get the gold moved out of the United States, and it was this movement of gold which helped trigger the Depression. By 1928, nearly $500 million in gold was transferred to Europe. President Franklin D. Roosevelt accepted the advice of England's leading economist, John Maynard Keynes, 1883 to 1946, a member of the Illuminati, who said that deficit spending would be a shot in the arm to the economy. Most of the New Deal spending programs to fight economic depression were based on Keynes' theories on deficit spending, and financed by borrowing against future taxes. In 1910, Lenin said, "The surest way to overthrow an established social order is to debauch its currency." 9 years later, Keynes wrote, "Lenin was certainly right, there is no more positive, or subtler, no surer means of overturning the existing basis of society than to debauch the currency. The process engages all of the hidden forces of economic law on the side of destruction, and does it in a manner that not one man in a million is able to diagnose." A presidential executive order by Roosevelt on April 5, 1933, required all the people to exchange their gold coins, gold bullion, and gold-backed currency, for money that was not redeemable in precious metals. The Gold Reserve Act of 1934, known as the Thomas Amendment, which amended the Act of May 12, 1933, made it illegal to possess any gold currency, which was rescinded December 31, 1974. Gold coinage was withdrawn from circulation, and kept in the form of bullion. Just as the public was to return all their gold to the U.S. government, so was the Federal Reserve. However, while the people received $20.67 an ounce in paper money issued by the Federal Reserve, the reserve was paid in gold certificates. Now the Federal Reserve, and the Illuminati, had control of all the gold in the country. In 1934, the value of gold increased to $35 an ounce, which produced a $3 billion profit for the government. But when the price of gold increases, the value of the dollar decreases. Our dollar has not been worth 100 cents since 1933, when we were taken off of the gold standard. In 1974, our dollar was worth 22.5 cents, and in 1983 it was only worth 38 cents. In 2002, it took $13.88 to buy what cost $1 in 1933. Since our money supply had been limited to the amount of gold in Treasury reserves, when the value of the dollar decreased, more money was printed. The first United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference, held in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, from July 1 to July 22, 1944, which was under the direction of Harry Dexter White, CFR member, and undercover Russian spy, established the policies of the International Monetary Fund. Its goals were to strip the United States of its gold reserves by giving it to other nations, and to merge with their industrial capabilities, as well as their economic, social, educational and religious policies, to facilitate a one-world government. Because of paying off foreign obligations and strengthening foreign economies, between 1958 and 1968, the amount of gold bullion in the possession of the U.S. Treasury dropped by 52%. Of the amount remaining, $12 billion was reserved by law for backing the paper money in circulation. Our money had been backed by a 25% gold reserve in accordance to a law that was passed in 1945, but it was rescinded in 1968. The amount of gold slipped from 653.1 million troy ounces in 1957, to 311.2 million ounces in 1968, which according to the Treasury Department, was due to sales to foreign banking institutions, sales to domestic producers, and the buying and selling of gold on the world market to stabilize prices. This was a loss of 341.9 million troy ounces. In August 1971, gold was used only for world trade, because foreign countries wouldn't accept US dollars. As of November 1981, sources had indicated that the gold reserve had dropped to 264.1 million troy ounces. Title 31 of the U.S. Code requires an annual physical inventory of our gold supply, but a complete audit was never done, so officially, nobody knows what has occurred. After World War II, America had 70% of the world's supply of loose gold, but today, we may have less than 7%. Senator Jesse Helms seemed to think that the OPEC nations have our gold, while others believe that 70% of the world's gold supply is being held by the World Bank, which is dominated by the financial grip of the Rothschild and the Rockefellers. Some years ago, I had been contacted by a gentleman in Michigan, whose research indicated that counterfeit $5,000 and $10,000 Federal Reserve notes had been used to steal U.S. gold reserves. Illegal to own, these notes are actually checks which are used to transfer ownership of large amounts of gold without actually moving the gold itself. Using public records, he found the serial numbers of the bills which were originally printed, and discovered that there are now more in existence. It has been reported that 40%, 13,000 tons, of the world's gold is 5 levels below street level, in a sub-basement of the New York Federal Reserve Bank, behind a 90-ton revolving door. Some of it is American-owned, but most is owned by the central banks of other countries. It is stored in separate cubicles, and from time to time, is moved from one cubicle to another to satisfy international transactions.